to picture this. It's July 15th, 2003, midnight. We're in a village called Singharai in Madhya Pradesh.
Yeah.
Neighbors suddenly hear these awful screams coming from one house. It's a woman, Barendra Kumari, and then just silence.
Chilling.
By 3 in the morning, her husband's family is out in a field, secretly cremating her body. No ceremony, nobody invited. When the police show up, there's nothing left but ash and broken bangles, and the husband, Balveer Singh, he's vanished.
And that's the setup for a case we're diving into today, State of Madhya Pradesh versus Balveer Singh. It's a recent 2025 Supreme Court judgment that really gets into this doctrine about what happens when a crime occurs behind closed doors.
It's all about turning silence into evidence, isn't it?
That's the mission, to understand how a husband's silence inside his own home can become the very thing that convicts him.
And what a wild ride this case was. First, Balveer was convicted, but then in 2010, the High Court just let him go, acquitted.
Right, they let him walk. And the entire reason hinged on one person, the only eyewitness.
Their daughter, Rani, who was just 7 years old.
That was the whole friction point. The police didn't actually record her statement for 18 days. And in that time, she was staying with her maternal uncle.
An uncle who, importantly, was a known enemy of her father, Balveer.
Exactly. So the defense attorney just had a field day with that. The High Court basically said, look, 18 days with an enemy of the father, she's obviously been tutored.
The idea being a 7-year-old's memory is, it's soft clay. The uncle could have just shaped it to frame him.
It's a very standard defense.
Yeah.
But this is where the 2025 Supreme Court judgment really changes the game. They looked at that acquittal and they reversed it. And they did it by drawing this incredibly sharp line between improvisation and fabrication.
I found this part fascinating because the High Court sort of assumed any inconsistency in her story was a lie.
But the Supreme Court took a more psychological approach. They argued that memory, especially for a child who's seen something that horrific, it isn't like a video playback.
It's not a perfect recording.
No, not at all. They said improvisation, like adding a small detail here or there later on, is actually natural. It's how the brain processes trauma in little pieces. In fact, if a child recites a story perfectly, like a script,
that's when you should be suspicious.
that's the red flag. Fabrication is different. Fabrication is when the core of the story changes.
And Rani's core story never, ever changed. From day one, she said she saw her father slam her mother down and then choke her to death with his foot. I mean, just a horrifying detail.
And she stuck to that story through a grueling 1.5-hour cross-examination. The court said the 18-day delay, that was a failure of the police, a procedural issue. It wasn't a reason to discredit the child.
Okay, so her testimony puts him at the scene, committing the act. But he never confessed. He just stayed silent. Which brings us to this four walls doctrine.
This is the legal engine that sealed his fate. It comes from Section 106 of the Indian Evidence Act. Now, usually the prosecution has to prove everything.
Right.
But when a crime happens inside the privacy of a home, literally within four walls, where it's only, say, the husband and wife present, well, the prosecution can't see through walls.
They can't possibly know what happened in that room.
So the law flips the burden. It basically says to the husband, you were there. You have special knowledge of how she died. You have to explain it.
It becomes his duty to speak.
It does. Balveer admitted he was home. His wife died a violent, unnatural death. By offering zero explanation, his silence became what the court called the missing link in the chain of evidence.
It's that idea of an adverse inference, right? If you're innocent and your spouse collapses, you call for help. You don't burn the body at 3 a.m. and flee.
Precisely. His actions, the flight, the secret cremation, combined with his silence, it all pointed in one direction. In this specific situation, your right to silence isn't a shield. It's actually a weight that can crush you.
And it did. 22 years after the crime, the Supreme Court restored the conviction. Life in prison.
It's a huge decision.
So let's break down the takeaways. For anyone listening who isn't a lawyer, what's the lesson here?
I think for the public, it's a stark warning. Your home is private, yes. But it's not a legal vacuum. If a tragedy happens inside those four walls and you were there, you have a duty to explain it. Staying silent can and will be used against you.
The court will assume the worst. And for the legal pros listening,
It's a powerful roadmap. First, for validating a child's testimony against claims of tutoring. You focus on the core facts, not minor inconsistencies. And second, it reinforces just how potent Section 106 is in any case of a private or custodial death where you have no other witnesses.
it really makes you rethink the whole idea of privacy. We imagine our homes are castles protecting us from the outside world. But this doctrine says something else.
What's that?
It says, Those walls will only protect you if you act with basic human decency inside them. If you meet tragedy with silence, those four walls don't become a shield, they become a box.